Some require special preparation. This is a yam species Les has not seen before.
That's it. Oh, good.
The numerous mangroves of our northern coast are a good and easy source of food, especially at low tide. Then, with a little knowledge, large quantities of edible crabs and shellfish can be gathered. Easy prey, like this mangrove snail, a species common in the north.
Eat this one too?
Yeah, eat it.
Any good for fish bait?
Yeah, fish bait, eating, people eating. Yeah.
How come he sticks on the root?
Well, when the tide come up, when the tide comes, and the mangroves. Yeah.
But he keep out of the water?
Yeah, you frighten up, get drowned.
You frighten you get drowned?
Yeah.
Some sort of shellfish you turned out to be.
When you eat these, they keep you happy.
When you eat these, they keep you happy.
Yeah, good time.
Right.
The mud whelk is easy prey too, and often litters the floor of mangrove swamps.
But just cook it up in the fire?
Yeah, just like that. And when you cook, them cook it in the pie, them boil it in the boiler.
Yeah, boil it in the billy too?
Yeah.
We might get some and try it out, eh?
Oh, yeah, if you'd like to.
Yeah, I reckon. Hey, tip him over?
Yeah. That one.
Oh, all green.
Yeah, good taga.
Oh, good too.
Yeah. See that one?
Yeah.
That one.
The big one?
Yeah, big one. Yeah, that one.
No.
Yeah.
It's the same one?
Yeah, hold up, yeah. Check out the green one? Yeah.
Yeah.
She did it. Yeah.
Did they do that?
Yeah, check this green part here. This green one here. Check it away.
Check it away?
Eat that one.
Righto.
Yeah. Grab that one.
Pull him out with that.
Just pull it up, yeah. That's it. Yeah, that one.
This right there?
Yeah, good taga. Take the plate off. The plate?
Yeah.
That one. That's it, yeah.
Eat all that one?
Yeah, good taga.
I reckon you could sell these in a restaurant down in Sydney.
Yeah.
You know, in this part of Australia, there's more to the coastal environment than the simple marine animals that live out there in the water. The whole coastline, the foreshore, has a whole variety of survival resources of its own. And I guess anyone that landed on a coastline like this, the first thing they would encounter are these little fellows here. And they themselves have two resource factors to offer any person surviving. Firstly, they can be eaten. Secondly, they're a bush medicine. Come and I'll show you how. What you do is you get inside the green ant nest. This is one here, and you can see them going quite angry about it. And somewhere in here, if we're lucky, and they're biting me at the moment, so I'll try and make this pretty snappy, we might be able to find some larvae. White larvae. There are millions of them. They're going a little bit ape. Actually, yes, there's some larvae there. And that larva, that white larva, if you can pick it out amongst the ants, I've got it between my fingers there, is edible. So are the ants, by the way. They think I'm edible at the moment. But that white larva was used by Aboriginal people as a cure for coughs and colds. And they grind it up between their fingers like that. A few ants thrown into good measure. And then just eat it. Like that. Now they've got a very distinct flavour and tang to them. It's rather like lemony lime type of drink. And if they mix it up with water, they'd quite often make themselves what they call a lemonade drink. Well, today they call it a lemonade drink. And it was used quite extensively. I'll get ants stuck in the throat. Quite extensively throughout the whole of Northern Australia, and up the nose, throughout the whole of Northern Australia as a cure for coughs and colds. And they're not too bad when they're not biting you. Anyway, over here there's something else too. This is the bow oak tree, and it grows only in the northwest corner of Australia, principally around the Kimberleys. Aboriginal people use the fruit, the nuts that is, which come on once a year. And that fruit and nut was pounded up to make a powdered milk-like drink, or it was eaten raw. When the fruit and nuts weren't available, they'd dig out the roots, and out of the roots they'd get the inner bark which surrounded that root casing, strip it bare, and twine it up to make a fish string, I guess you'd call it. And with that string, they'd then go back to the ocean and catch their fish. The nuts, we've got some old ones here. These nuts are the residue from last season, last year, and that's why they're so small and shriveled. Normally they're about 3 times that size. And when you break them open, you've got this white pith inside. That pith tastes like powdered milk, and that's the pith that the Aboriginal people used to eat. But there's something rather interesting about the nutrition of these nuts too. A few years ago, we picked half a dozen off a tree. We sent 2 of them in 1980 for analysis. They came back with a fairly high reading in ascorbic acid, protein, thiamine, and all the rest. 2 years later, we sent another 2 in, and we found that the deprivation loss in nutrition over a 2-year period was less than 40%. What that means is that those nuts in that condition are like a time capsule, a food time capsule.
Many botanists believe that the boab tree is not an Australian plant and was introduced centuries ago, but how is not known. Les has an interesting theory which could explain its presence.
I'll give you a bit of a thought process. You're going to have to pay attention because it's fairly complicated, and if you don't, you're going to get confused. This tree here, the Adansonia gregori as it's called, occurs in 3 areas in the world. Here in the Kimberley, Africa, and Madagascar. Nowhere else. The botanical opinion is that the 3 locations all have the same tree, Adansonia gregori, even though they've got slightly different Sunday dressed-up names. The botanical opinion is also that this one in the Kimberley was introduced by man. No one knows how or why, but that's the general consensus over in Kew in England. Put that to one side for a minute. Also in the Kimberley here, the same distribution pattern that this tree has, we have a very special type of rock art. It's called the Bradshaw art, or the Bradshaw paintings. The local Aboriginal people claim that they didn't do them, that it's not their work. You look at the local Aboriginal work, the rock art that they do, and you can see quite a comparative difference between the art of the Wandjina, the local art, and the Bradshaw art. Put that to one side for a bit. The third bit of information is that we know that there was once a trading route from Madagascar right up through the Indonesian archipelago, ending up in China. The thought occurs to me, and I just put it up as a thought, that perhaps that trading route, when the ships called into Madagascar, took on supplies of this nut. We know that it's a time capsule, and it would be ideal for a sea voyage of that type. Probably they put on a bit of indentured labour at the same time. And if those boats out in this ocean were to get shipwrecked in the same way as many European ships got wrecked along the Kimberley coast and the West Australian coast, we could end up with the distribution of both the rock art from the indentured labour on board and the tree from the food stored down below decks. One more thing, and this is a real classic. 5 or 6 years ago, an old Aboriginal fellow over in Derby told me the Aboriginal legend for this particular tree and how it came to be the way it is. He reckoned that once upon a time, way back in the dream time, this tree was extremely conceited. It had the best foliage and the most beautiful flowers of all the trees in the area. In fact, it was so conceited that the Dreamtime spirits got to it. They reefed it out of the ground, turned it upside down and plonked it back in. The branches you see now were originally the roots. Now, the fascinating bit about that legend is that the same story was told in Madagascar to explain the appearances of the boab.
Les spends between 7 and 8 months in the field each year. He loves the bush, but his lifestyle is not easy.
My field operation is what you'd probably call basic, and it doesn't have caravans and motels attached to it, and it's basically a swag on the ground, and sometimes I put up a bit of a tarpaulin in the trees, keep the rain off, or the sun. And I wash out of a bucket, I cook on an open fire, It's got to be basic because it's a one-man show. It's a set procedure to set up a camp. Straight into firewood, straight into water if it's available, and the swag out, then maybe put a cup of tea on and get the food ready. Sit down and write up the day's activities and beef up the catalogue, the bush food catalogue, write up the details that you recorded and seen during the day. And sometimes wish I had somebody else to make a campsite for me. I think, you know, sometimes I realise the isolation that I find myself in. You know, sometimes you can be there at night by yourself, camp somewhere, and you know that you're 200 or 300 kilometres from any living person, and you know you feel vulnerable should something happen. And sometimes things do happen, vehicle breakdowns and bogs and traumas like that. But because you're by yourself, you know that there's no way out of it except the way that you can provide. You've got to work at it yourself. Dangers vary, of course. They can vary from, you know, because I do a lot of night driving, because particularly during the summer months, night driving is the coolest time to drive. And of course, night driving involves dodging cattle a lot of the place. Up in the top end, it's probably more of a problem when you're camping out because of the crocodile menace. A lot of waterways these days have a crocodile menace. Around Cape York, pigs are a bit of a problem. And also, of course, buffalo. I guess if I had a very great threat against me, such as a pretty angry pig or an angry buffalo or a crocodile for that matter, and I was capable of it, I'd use the revolver pretty well straight away. I guess people wonder, if you're out in the bush like this, just what sort of things you do miss. Personally, I reckon if you've got a great list of things that you miss, you probably shouldn't be out here in the first place. I can think of the things that I'd miss if I was in the city more than the things I miss when I'm out in the bush.
Travel is very much part of field research for Les Hiddens, and most years he drives more than 50,000 kilometres. Les is based at the Army's Field Force Battle School headquarters at Laverack Barracks in Townsville, and frequently traverses the continent by road in the course of his studies. Road travel provides the best means of transport for a research project of this nature, as it enables Les constantly to be aware of his surroundings and their potential survival resources. Many of the areas that he visits have little more than four-wheel drive tracks, making his task a little more tedious and a little more dangerous. In some areas, like here on the Kimberley Plateau, there are no Aboriginal communities, and Les has to work alone. Research in such regions requires much more driving and footwork, but mainly as a matter of observation.